Hi, this is Jeannie from Trendy Tree, and today I'm going to show you how I'm going to redo this grapevine wreath. This is one that I made back in the spring to go in my kitchen. Now, when I make things for myself at home, I may do them a little differently than you do. This particular wreath, I made this and it's going to hang, or this hung up above my stove. So when I use something like this in the house, I don't tend to use hot glue. Now, if I'm making something to go on my front door, yes, I use hot glue, like this wreath. Now, this wreath is one that I made back in Easter. It had an Easter sign on it, and then after Easter, I took the sign off and just left it for spring and summer. But all these pieces you see are hot glued. So this is one that I made just to go in the house. It was not going to be in the traffic. It's not going to be on a door. It's just going to be stationary. So in this case, I didn't use any hot glue. So the first thing I'm going to do is take these pieces off. Take the bow off, and I did use some floral wire in places, and I'll snip that as I have to. And I did attach, this was a garland that I had used, and I did attach it with some zip ties. So I'm just going to clip that, get that off, and get that out of the way. And then I'm going to reuse the same grapevine. I like to repurpose things. Okay, so now we've got everything off of it. This is just an oval, it's about an 18-inch grapevine. So what I'm going to do today, my focal point is going to be this coffee sign, and that number is AP7017. This is on the website at Trendy Tree. Typically, all the supplies that I use come from Trendy Tree. If you're not familiar with Trendy Tree, that's my daughter Carrie's and David's website. They sell all sorts of wreath making supplies, ribbons, wreath forms, mesh, signs, flowers, seasonal decorations, and collectible ornaments. So if you haven't visited Trendy Tree, go to trendytree.com, okay? The next thing I'm going to use is this sunflower bundle, and that number is 35108 cm. It's got 3 sunflowers in it, and then I have this mini sunflower bush. It has a small sunflowers, and they're like beige and a cream, and that number is 52503BE. And then I have this coffee ribbon. I love this. It's just a 2.5-inch wired ribbon, and that number is RGB 109327. And then I have a 1.5-inch chocolate and ivory, and that number is X844509-38. And then I brought some raffia. I thought I might use some raffia. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to position my sign. Now, I went ahead and fixed my sign. I'm going to zoom in so you can see a little bit closer, so just hold on. This sign is made of MDF, and it has a burlap string hanger, but what I did was just staple that burlap string down to get it out of the way. And then I stapled 2 chenille stems, one at the top and one at the bottom. I went ahead and did this before the video because it makes such a racket. But you always want to be careful when you're using staples on something like this to make sure that you don't let your staple go through the MDF. So what I did in this case was I folded up a little piece of cardboard and put it right under the staple and attached the chenille stems. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to position the sign something like that. So I'm just going to lay it down and get it on my table, and I'm going to take some needle nose pliers and go up through the grapevine wreath from the back and grasp the chenille stems. So I'm just going to put the needle nose pliers through there and then grab the chenille stem, one side of it, one piece of it, and pull that through. Of course, I let it go. Okay. and then I'm just gonna snug that up and twist it. And then I'm going to secure it at the bottom also. So see, that's what it looks like on the back. My raffia keeps getting in the way. Now, if I was going to hang this on a glass door, I probably might not use chenille stems. I might use floral wire because you can tuck that in and hide it a little better. But for my purposes, this is going to go on a brick wall. So I'm going to do it just like that, okay? All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is make my bow. Now, I'm going to use the Easy Bow Maker. We sell the Easy Bow Maker on Trendy Tree, so it's really easy to do. So I'm going to zoom my camera in a little closer. So I've got my sign attached. I'm going to do the bow, and then we're going to put in our flowers around that. Okay, so for my bow, I'm going to measure about a 16-inch tail. The Easy Bow Maker is this piece of wood. It has markings on it, and it has these tall pegs. One is a spool holder, and then one is where your ribbon goes. So I'm gonna, I have to turn it around, y'all. I need my spool holder on the right side for me. Okay, so I'm gonna measure, and I'm gonna make my tails about 16 inches. I may have to shorten them, but I've measured like 16 inches, and then I'm gonna pinch the ribbon up. I'm gonna twist it and drop it down in the Easy Bow Maker. I'm gonna pull that tail toward me out of the way, and I'm gonna make a loop about 6 inches. So I'll go out to the 6-inch marking and just pinch that up, drop it in, twist it. You want to get your right side up. And then I'm going to make a 6-inch loop on the opposite side. Okay, and then I'm going to come down and I'm going to cut those tails off. So next, I'm going to go with my 1.5-inch ribbon. I'm going to make that same 16-inch tail, drop it down, give it a twist, make a loop. I'm going to keep these at 6 inches also. Making a loop on each side. And on this one, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put 4 loops of this 1.5 inch. I really like this ribbon. It's a really pretty chocolate color, chocolate and ivory. It's got a nice stiff texture too. And I'll cut that off and I'll trim these tails later. I may need to get them a little shorter. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to make one more loop with a coffee ribbon. Same tails. And another 6-inch loop. This doesn't have to be a big bow. Of course, you can use one ribbon. You can use 2 or 3, 4 different styles of ribbon. You can make a funky bow by using about 6 different styles of ribbon. So there's so many different ways of making bows. And you don't have to use a bow maker. You can do a freehand bow. Okay, so now I'm going to take my chenille stem. I'm going to ease that bow up off the board. I'm pressing it down and holding it tight. The center is just all the layers are stacked up on each other. And I'm going to take the chenille stem in the center and I'm going to bring it around to the back to secure it. You can use floral wire, a zip tie, or chenille stem. And I'm going to hold that and twist the bow. Make sure I've got all my tails coming to the front, and then I'm going to kind of just pull out those loops and fluff that up. That's going to make a good bow. Now what I'm going to do to cover up my mechanics, to cover up that chenille stem, I'm going to take a piece of the striped and I'm going to just cut a small piece, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fold it to get a narrow piece. Just fold the edges together. And this is stiff ribbon. All right, and then I'm going to go right over that center just to cover up those mechanics. And I'm just going to take that little narrow piece of ribbon and bring it around to the back. Kind of between my chenille stems and tie it in a knot. I could have cut that piece a little bit longer. We'll just tie that in a knot. Yeah, I could have made that ribbon a little bit longer. I almost got it so short. It's so stiff, I almost got it so short I can't tie it. I tell you what, let me just stop and get a longer piece. That usually is the best thing to do. I'm just folding that to make it narrow. And then we're going to go right back over that chenille stem. Of course, it's chocolate brown. It really doesn't have to be covered up. But anyway, this is just one way of doing it. And if you want to, you can just use an extra loop there and not do this step. But there's lots of different ways of doing things, okay? So that will work. Just going to cut off those extra ends. That's not going to come untied because it's just going to be sitting up there, okay? All right, so now we can fluff that out a little more. And I'm not going to cut my tails until I get completely finished. But I am going to go ahead and secure the bow to the wreath. Okay, so now I'm going to take the bow, use the chenille stems, and just attach it to the wreath. Okay. Okay, and we'll work more on our bow when we're finished. Okay, so now we're going to take our flowers. I'm going to take the sunflower bundle and just cut it apart. It's all single stems. It's just held together by a piece of raffia. Okay, and I'm going to start out with my biggest sunflower bloom. There's four blooms. There's three. That one is the largest, I think, or there's two that size and two that are smaller. But we'll take one, and I'm not gonna cut these stems. I'm gonna leave them long because I'm just gonna stick them down into the grapevine. But I like to start with the largest bloom first. And of course, you'll see people do this different ways. So I'm going to put one in from the top, and I'm going to put one in from the bottom. Now, when you're putting stems through a grapevine, you don't want your stems to stick through on the back side, especially if you're hanging your wreath on the door. My wreath is going to be hanging on a brick wall, so I'm not worried about that today. And also, like I say, I'm not using any hot glue because mine will be repurposed again. Probably I'll take this off and redo it in November or December. These, the little mini sunflower bush, I'm going to cut these stems off. I may not use all of this. I'll use some. We'll just start out with some pieces and see how much we need. I'm not planning to put a whole lot into this wreath, but I like the lighter color ones. I had planned on using a wheat leaf bush, but it didn't come in yet. It'll be here tomorrow. But I thought, well, if I wait any longer, you know, I will get busy and I won't get this done. So each of these pieces, you kind of want to handle them and kind of bend them to where they look a little more natural. You want some kind of, you know, you want some kind of facing out. You want some facing, you know, inside. So just kind of play with your pieces. I want some kind of coming downward. Sort of kind of rounding this way and rounded up that way. And there's different kinds of greenery in this bush, so I'll use some of that. You want to be sure and cut your tags off of your pieces. Well, that one's stuck on there pretty good. These stems on these bushes are kind of, there's wire in there, but they're like plastic further down than that, so they're having a little bit of trouble getting those to go in there. Let's see, where's my other sunflower blossom? Oh, right there. Whoops. You know, when you're using a steel pick machine too, and I don't have the steel pick machine here, it's at the store, but you can put a sharp point on these. Ideally, probably what would work better is if I cut this a little shorter but put a steel pick on it. But since I'm not using any hot glue and I'll be repurposing later, I'm trying to work this longer stem in there, which is just a little harder. And I see I have a stem sticking out over there. I'll have to fix that. I love being able to repurpose things. Now, I know if you're making wreaths and you're selling them, of course you have to make a wreath and sell it, but now for my purposes here at the house, you know, I like to repurpose things and reuse them, and it saves money and it saves space on having to store things till, you know, it's nice to have a wreath for every occasion or every season, but, you know, storing them gets to be a problem. There's some greenery left. Let's see. Let's kind of make that right up in there. Okay, I think I've used just about everything. There's another little piece of greenery that I see a long stem there that I need to cut off. Still not satisfied with that sunflower, so just hang on. I'm going to switch that. I'm going to put this larger sunflower farther down. And that's a good thing about, you know, when you're not hot gluing something, you can just pull it out and start over and, you know, keep working with it till you get it where you want it. That's better. Okay, and I was going to use some raffia, and well, there's one more little piece right there that okay, I have some raffia. Hold on. I really had intended to put some of the raffia in my bow, and I forgot it. So I'm just going to kind of cut a piece. And I will put a little bit of floral wire around it to attach it by. Of course, I can trim the length on that when I get through too. But Okay? And then just kind of work on your ribbons to see, how long you want to keep your tails. And I'm going to chevron the ends of this ribbon, so I'm going to fold that, fold it in half, and then I'm just going to cut. And that makes a little dovetail cut. And you can make those shorter, make your ribbons whatever length you want. Let's see, there should be one more long tail. There we go. They don't all have to be the same length. And usually on my 1.5 inch ribbon, I usually just cut those at an angle. You can do, however, just whichever way you like. And then you want to always kind of take your ribbons and kind of give them a little curl, just to kind of, give them a little body, a little life, so they don't just stick straight down. Okay, so that's it. My coffee wreath. Yesterday was National Coffee Day, and I meant to do this yesterday, but I didn't get to. So anyway, I'll post the links, and there'll be a blog post that goes along with this, and you can go to Trendy Tree. I'm sorry, I probably made some racket there, but you can go to trendytree.com, and you can find these supplies. They're all in stock right now. So be sure and subscribe to our channel. And also, we have a new Trendy Tree Facebook group. It's called Trendy Tree Wreath Club. So we would love to have you join that. Just go to Facebook and search Trendy Tree Wreath Club and drop by and visit the Trendy Tree page too, okay? See you later. Bye-bye.